Hi everyone, this is Cuevas with Remax Cross Country and the Greater Lewisville Association of Realtors Technology Committee. And today I wanted to talk to you about how to take better photos. Now we're going to show you some examples, some good, some bad, also show you some settings. And we're going to do this with two cameras. The first one's going to be an iPhone, which is what I happen to have, but you can use any smartphone that you have. And the second camera will be an actual camera like a DSLR. However, if you've got a mirrorless camera or just a point and shoot where you can change the settings, I'll show you how to work that as well. Now you'll have to pardon the video, it's a little bit longer, but there's a lot of good information, so let's get started. So in this first example, you'll notice the photographer's finger is in the way. Again, that kind of takes away from the photo and it's not very professional. This is a entry, and it's shot in portrait mode. And the problem with portrait mode is that you see those black bars on the side. In case you don't know what portrait mode is when you take a picture up and down instead of side to side. This is landscape. We want to take a picture in landscape mode. So again, you see that portrait mode, you see those black bars on the side, you don't want to see that. You want to fill the frame as much as possible. So in this picture outside, you'll notice the gray sky, the grass could be greener, you've got a little bit of junk on the side of the house that you really don't want in the picture, so it could have been better composed. Now this is an example of a good picture, nice and bright. You'll notice that the composition is just great. You're seeing a little bit of everything, the colors look good. And this bathroom shot shows everything. The bedroom is nice and bright and very well laid out. Now if you go outside, we've got good composition, nice blue sky, nice green grass, and it's a good photo. Now we're going to be using two cameras. The first one's going to be an iPhone. Now it doesn't have to be an iPhone, you can be any smartphone. The next one will be a DSLR, and again it doesn't have to be a DSLR, but as long as you have some of these controls that I'll show you, and I'll show you what controls to use. You'll want to have a tripod to have your photos still. Our subject is going to be this conference room. Now we can pretend this is a dining room because we have a table, we've got that window. If you notice, that window fools the camera because it's really bright, so it doesn't know if it needs to be a bright photo or a dark photo. So that's the challenge. First up is the iPhone. Now we're going to put this iPhone in the corner of the room where this tripod is. Now in this particular case, I go to the corner and I try to get as much of the room as I can. The problem with the iPhone is it doesn't have the widest angle, and that's what the advantage of the DSLR. But you want to click on HDR and you click on, not auto. You set the photo where you want it and you just dial it once and it'll take those exposures, and this is the result. It's not a bad photo. It could be better. It could be brighter in some areas, darker in others, but it could be a wider angle. And that's where the DSLR really comes in handy. So if you've got a DSLR or a camera with any of these controls, I'm going to show you how to do that. First up is the mode. What mode do you want it in? You're going to want it in aperture priority mode. In this case, it's a Canon, and it's represented by the AV on the dial. On a Sony, it's represented by an A. That's aperture priority. F-stop is the next thing, is aperture. That's the F number. In this case, anything between 8 and 11 is fine. Now the next one would be ISO. Now most of the time it's set to auto, and in this case you're going to want to set it to 100 or whatever your lowest setting is. Now have you ever seen this bar on your camera settings? Well, what this is the exposure. Automatically it's set to 0. And what 0 means is that the camera's going to take what the camera thinks is a perfect exposure. If you ever have a shot that doesn't come out bright enough, you just turn up the dial and it'll get brighter, or if you turn down the dial, it'll get darker. Okay, so you see that it goes up, the shot will be brighter. If you go down, it'll be darker. So it's an easy way to do that. In this case, we're going to take 3 pictures. Now my camera happens to be able to take 3 pictures at the same time. Underexposed, perfectly exposed, and overexposed. If your camera cannot do that, just take the time to take 3 different pictures. Under, perfect, and overexposed. Now we're going to use a remote in this case, and I'll tell you why. Because even though it's on a tripod, when you click on the shutter button, it moves just a little bit, and we don't want any of that. The next thing, the advantage of the DSLR, is that you have a wide angle lens. Now this is a 10 to 22 millimeter. So if you have any other camera, just set it to the lowest number, which is going to make the shot wide. So here we go. We're going to take the photo. In this case, it's going to be 3 photos. Now again, remember, we're going to have 3 photos. one that's perfectly exposed, or so the camera thinks, but we would argue that it's too bright on some areas and too dark in others. The next shot is going to be really bright, which is overexposed. You'll notice that the wall looks nice and bright, so does the carpet, but that window, you can't even make it out anymore. The last photo is underexposed. Look at that window, it looks perfect, but the walls now look dark. So what we'll do is we'll put it in some software that combines the 3 photos and produces this. Now this is a high dynamic range photo. It combines those 3 photos, and that's how you get that professional look. So we'll do another example. Remember that bedroom? Here are the 3 photos, and then we're going to have the result. And take a look at the result, and it combines the best of the 3 photos and it puts it together. This is the result that we're going for. So I know that was a lot of information that I just threw at you, but I promise you it's very informative. You can use that to go back, practice, so that next time when you go to take pictures of your listing, you'll have much better results. Now, a couple of things I wanted to cover that I didn't cover in that part. Number 1, the camera. I'm not suggesting that you have to go out and buy a Canon DSLR. What I am just stating is that if you happen to have a camera that has those dials, that has those settings, I gave you the settings for you to be able to achieve similar results. And number 2, the software. I didn't go into that because that would be a whole nother video on how to use the software, etc. Now the software that I happen to use is Photoshop Lightroom. Now you can simply Google HDR, as in high dynamic range photography software, and you'll see all sorts of software that you can use. But you will need that software because that software will grab those 3 photos, those exposures, and combine those 3 photos and combine one photo that you saw that result. So again, I know there's a lot of information. I really think it's going to help you out. If you have any questions, or if I could be of help when taking these pictures and showing you the settings, feel free to give me a call or contact me. Again, I'm Lewis with RE/MAX Cross Country and the Greater Lewisville Association of Realtors Technology Committee. Thank you so much.